What book are you reading? Ask Reddit. Provocative Thoughts and Answers. It by Stephen King. Dune Messiah. It's awesome. I can't believe I waited this long to read the series. Pride and Prejudice. The Lusty Argonian Maid. Volume 2. Project Hail Mary. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I read the books once every 2 years. Always my favorite one when I get to this. I'm currently reading A Game of Thrones. It's my first time reading a fantasy book. I mostly read horror and dystopian books. So far I'm loving it. Needful Things by Stephen King. Dead-Eyed Dick. Vonnegut. The Art of War. Play a Piano by Vonnegut. I'm Glad My Mom Dead. Jeanette McCurdy. I love books but reading is very difficult for me, so I like audiobooks. I'm listening to one of my favorite books for the 100th time. It's called All Tomorrows by C.S. Kozeman. Sapiens. Yuval Noah Harari. Just started book 1 of the Wheel of Time series. Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. Super excited. It's been on my list for years. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Guns, Germs, and Steel by Jared Diamond. It explores why some cultures develop technologies faster than others. Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere. I've been going through a non-fiction binge recently. Uncook Yourself. A Ratbag's Rules for Life by Nat's What I Reckon. It's 10,000 times better than Old Fart JP's 12 Rules for Life and an excellent book to read on the toilet. In the End. A Practical Guide to Dying, by Jackie Coyle. Really interesting stuff about a subject people try to avoid talking about until it's too late. Unmasking Autism, by Devon Price. Pretty good so far. No Such Thing as Normal, by Bryony Gordon. Another interesting book. Alchemy. Rory Sutherland. The Death of Grass by John Christopher. Deleted. Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Rebel Yell by S.C. Gwynne. Listening to A Life on Our Planet by David Attenborough. I just started reading 21 Lessons for the 21st Century by Yuval Noah Harari. And also reading Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone to the kids. The Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's really good. The Arabian Nights. Broken Earth. The Stone Sky. Planning on the Inheritance next. Really enjoying Jemison's books. The Habsburgs. To Rule the World. Martin Radi. Been on a bit of a Habsburg kick lately. Wheel of Time. My debut novel I released this weekend. So exciting to see it in Kindle and Nook stores. A dream 15 years in the making. Chill Hell Immortal. Fairy Tale. Stephen King. A Game of Thrones. HOTD reignited my interest in the series and I'm reading it for the first time in like 9 years. I've also had Priory of the Orange Tree on my bookshelf for 6 months, but its length scares me. The Three-Body Problem. 5 Dialogues, by Plato. I'm genuinely interested in it. But it's also relatively short and I'm behind on my reading goal for the year. The Last Continent, Terry Pratchett. I'm working my way through Discworld slowly. Treasure Island, by Robert Louis Stevenson. I'm reading several. Because I like to give myself options. But fewer than I was because I just finished 2. William Shakespeare. Complete Works edited by Jonathan Bate and Eric Rasmussen is the book I've most recently read. I finished Othello. The Moor of Venice this morning. Up next I'll be reading the introduction to the poetry section and Venus and Adonis. His narrative poem and first published work. I'm also listening to the Archangel Shakespeare series of audiobooks. I'm listening to each play. The series doesn't cover Shakespeare's poems. in the order I've read them in the above book. After finishing Venus and Adonis, I'll be reading The Devil is an Ass by Ben Jonson from 4 Jacobean City Comedies, edited by Gemini Salgado. I'm also reading the complete plays of Ben Jonson, Volume 1 *, edited by Felix Schelling. I'm almost done with this book, having only *Epicoene, or The Silent Woman and the English version of Every Man in His Humour to go. I'm also listening to a couple of Shakespeare-related non-fiction books. Shakespeare's Language by Frank Kermode and Shakespeare, a biography by Peter Ackroyd, read by Simon Vance. And I'm reading Coney Catchers and Bawdy Baskets, an anthology of Elizabethan low-life edited by Gemini Salgado, in part just out of general interest, and in part because many of the coney catching, swindling tricks documented in the pamphlets anthologized here ended up in city comedies. It even throws an interesting light on plays that aren't specifically about swindles. For example, in Shakespeare's King Lear *, when Edgar is outlawed and goes into hiding as Poor Tom, he's mimicking the Abraham men, who pretended to be, or actually were, insane people turned away from St. Mary Bethlehem, aka Bedlam. Finally, I'm listening to *7 classic plays by various authors. The 7 classic plays are, in order: Medea by Euripides, The Tempest by William Shakespeare, The Imaginary Invalid by Molière, Camille, aka The Lady of the Camellias, by Alexandre Dumas Fils, An Enemy of the People by Henrik Ibsen, Arms and the Man by George Bernard Shaw, and Uncle Vanya by Anton Chekhov. Each one of these plays is a full-cast dramatic reading with professional actors and sound effects, rather like the Archangel Shakespeare series. So it's the next best thing to actually seeing the play. Many of these plays are my co-favorites or outright favorites of their respective authors.